Hello, my name is Melissa Hubbard, and I'm here with my colleague Prashant Bhoyar to tell you about our upcoming workshop called Microsoft Flow for SharePoint Professionals that we will be giving at SharePoint Fest in Washington, D.C. So before we get into what our workshop is about and what we will be offering, we would like to tell you a little bit about ourselves and introduce ourselves. So again, my name is Melissa Hubbard, and I am a project manager with the Witham Digital team. We are based out of Bethesda, Maryland. I'm a Microsoft Flow MVP, and I'm also the author of a book called Mastering Microsoft Teams. So I started my consulting career on SharePoint and supported several government agencies. A lot of my work was creating SharePoint Designer workflows to automate business processes as well as info path forms. So I recently moved into the private sector so I could focus on the newest Microsoft Cloud technology, and that brought me to discovering Microsoft Flow. So now I'll turn it over to Prashant to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Prashant G. Bhoyar. I am from Washington, D.C. Metropolitan area and currently working as solution architect with Witham Digital. We are based in Maryland, and I am Office 365 Apps and Services MVP. And I'm also author of the book called PowerShell for Office 365. I'm subject matter expert in business process automation and custom solution development in Office 365, SharePoint, and Azure. And I have started working with SharePoint since 2009. And I have done extensive work in business process automation, both for government as well as nonprofit organizations.
All right, thank you, Prashant. So the reason we wanted to give this workshop is because we both speak about Flow at a lot of different events and conferences, and we both have a lot of experience with SharePoint and SharePoint Designer workflows, and we get a ton of questions and feedback from the people in the community that have been creating SharePoint Designer workflows and now are interested in Flow. So there will be no new versions of SharePoint Designer, and Flow is becoming more and more integrated with SharePoint. It is important to get to know and get a good handle on what Flow is, what it can do, and how it compares to SharePoint Designer workflows. You want to be able to make the best decisions when creating business process automation solutions. So now let's take a look at our agenda for the event. Prashant will walk you through what we will be covering.
Okay. So we will start with first, what is Microsoft Flow? Where does it fit in the Microsoft ecosystem? We will cover what are the components of Flow, and we will be spending a lot of time on comparison of Flow and SharePoint Designer workflows. We will talk about templates, how modern SharePoint built-in flows work. We will spend time on approval process flows, expression, business process flows, and we will also talk about some of the heavy lifting of the flow, where like how, if you have any advanced automation scenarios or advanced processes that you would like to automate, then how we can call SharePoint REST APIs from Microsoft Flow, how we can call external web services from Microsoft Flow, how we can integrate Microsoft Flow with Microsoft Graph APIs, with Azure Function, and how we can trigger Flow from external web services. So we'll start with the basics of the Flow, and as the workshop progresses, we will be touching some of the advanced scenarios of the Flow as well.
All right, so we just want to give a quick image of what Flow does. It does a lot of similar things as SharePoint Designer, but sometimes in different ways. And it also offers a lot more features as well, since it's a cloud-based technology that not only connects with SharePoint, but connects with Dynamics 365, all of the Office 365 applications, and even third-party services as well. So a lot of these action words that you will see when you're using Flow are notifications, copying files, collecting data or updating data, and automating approvals. And we know that it's one thing to just look at a slide deck and learn about Flow, but we really want to focus on demos. So if you like demos and you want to see something, real life and done step by step, that's what we will be doing. I'd like to right now just give you a quick taste of a demo. So I'm going to cut over to my screen. So a quick demo I'm going to give you is actually on a built-in flow in the SharePoint Modern experience. People don't realize, because it's still very new, that there are flows that are built into the SharePoint Modern experience, and you want to be aware of that because you don't want to recreate the wheel, creating a SharePoint Designer workflow or even a flow from scratch to do something that could be achieved with just a few clicks of a button to configure. So the one I'm going to show, and there's actually a couple, but I'm going to be showing the request sign-off flow. So in SharePoint Designer, you could trigger workflows on a new item or on an update, or there was a manual trigger as well. So this would be the equivalent of a manual trigger, but it's much more user-friendly in that you just select the item in this SharePoint list that you want to run the workflow on. And I'm going to select request sign off. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to choose a person to send this item to with a message, and then it will send it for an approval. And in Microsoft Flow, there's a concept of an approval center, which is very brand new, and it's per user, a central location where they can see all of the items they have for approval, not just in one SharePoint list, but just in general, all flow approvals. So you can select whoever you want here. And by the way, this can be turned on or off, this flow can. So I'm going to say, can you review this candidate? Because I have an HR list here. So this, when I hit run a flow, will send an approval to myself or whoever I entered in here, and they will have the chance to approve or deny. And approvals are sent in an email, as well as if you have the mobile app. All right, so you can see here, started flow request sign off. All right, and I did receive the email. I'm going to open it up. All right, and so here's a link to the item with the details. So when you go to flow.microsoft.com, there's a whole section for approvals. It's called the Approval Center. And here is where you will see all of the approvals that you have received that are waiting for a decision from you. It'll also show ones that have been sent by you, as well as all of your own approval history. So here, March 7th, I have my request sign off item, and here are the details with a link to the item. And I can also reassign this to someone else. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve. And you have an optional comment. All right. So that has been approved. So this is just a small example of one of the demos we'll be giving at our workshop. We just wanted to give you an idea of what we'll be covering. And like Prashant said, we'll start off with the basics of Flow and work our way up to the more complex concepts. So we really hope you'll join us at our workshop, Microsoft Flow for SharePoint Professionals at SharePoint Fest DC.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.